Greetings, everyone. Habari yako. Greetings to you from Nakuru, Kenya. I want to talk to you about the transition to Kenya, living in Kenya, what things you need to consider before you move. And I'm speaking primarily to a certain demographic of people. Of course, now I'm from America, known as a Black American or African American. Been living in Kenya permanently since November of 2024. Still make frequent trips to the U.S. to visit my properties, manage my business, which can be done pretty much remotely from around the world, which leads me into one of my first points I want to make in this video. No matter where you live in the world, even though Kenya is a lot less expensive than America, you can live about a fourth of the money, depending on what city you are and depending on what your lifestyle choices are. Kenya is a very affordable place, but you still must have a steady stream of income. So I usually speak to people who are retired, whether military retired, on Social Security from the U.S., have a company pension, or maybe if you have a company outside of the U.S., or you're making money online digitally. So if you're in that category, you are the primary person that I usually use my information to inform, because certain things you have to be qualified for to retire permanently or to stay long-term in Kenya. One is an ordinary resident permit, which many people call a retirement permit, but it's called a Class K permit. And again, you have to have the resources to pay for these type of permits. In this case, a Class K may cost you upward of $6,000 to complete the entire process. So that's not something that everyday person can do. You have to be at least 35 years of age, have at least 24,000 of assured annual income from outside of Kenya, and everybody simply does not have that. Then they have several other visas or permits with the digital nomad visa. They have the investor's visa, which you have to have 100,000 U.S. liquid capital available to invest in a business here. You have the work permits if you're working for a company in Kenya. But I find that most people are looking to come to stay long term. If you're retired age above 35 and you have a pension or a business, a company outside the U.S. that's bringing in your funds, you should be able to qualify for it. And always tell people, and I list on our website, that there are lawyers available to handle the immigration process for you. Some of the ones that I have used in the past, they range around 100,000 to 150,000 shillings to take care of the ordinary resident permit for you, which once you get that, you're able to stay in the country up to 3 years. That is the permit that I have here in Kenya. So you have to have a means to a level of income in order to get yourself established here. Now, when it comes to housing, there's lots of various options. Most people who come to Kenya, they think Nairobi is all of Kenya, and so they choose to stay in Nairobi because it's more westernized. Particular certain areas that are more upscale by American standards, like Gigeri, Lavington, Kilauea, Kilimani, Katasuri, Spring Valley, Runda. These are very upscale areas, and they have upscale prices. That's designed for Western or foreigners. It's not designed for the everyday average Kenyan. And so, for instance, if you're in the Gigeri area where a lot of the UN is located, a lot of the embassies from different countries are located in this area. So when you go to the mall, for instance, Village Market, there's a mall in this area, you'll see mostly foreign nationals there. And the services are catered to foreign nationals. The housing prices, the amenities, and things that are in these properties are designed for the Western mindset of people. It's not designed for Kenyans who are living local. Now, for me, I lived in Nairobi for a few months when I first got here. We had an American-style apartment, if you want to say that. The price was around $350 a month, which is about 48,000 shillings a month. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, relatively close to one of the most popular malls in Nairobi area, which is Two Rivers Mall. It's about a 10-minute drive by Uber to get there. So it's in a pretty decent area. The apartment was decent itself. So that was a moderately priced apartment. Now, if you're going into the other areas, Gary, Lavington, Kilalacia, Kilimani, Katasuri, Spring Valley, you're looking at $100,000 and up for apartments. 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 120, 130,000 and up, which is still reasonably priced by American standards. That may be around $900 a month, or say $1,000 a month. You can get you a 3 or 4 bedroom apartment, or maybe even a self-contained compound. And so that tells me a little bit more about something I want to speak with you about. When we mention the word compounds, here in Kenya, most places are behind walls. Even the apartment that you live in, it's usually surrounded by a wall, has a central gate, which is manned by security guards that man the gates 24/7. Some people may think that makes Kenya seem to be unsafe, but it makes me feel even more safe. If you're from America, you know that violence can happen any and everywhere on a regular basis, and it does. Here in Kenya, they still have crimes that happen, but not on a regular basis as it does in the U.S. I mean, of course, we're more populated in the U.S., so that may explain some of the differences. But everywhere you go around the world, safety has to be one of the key things you look out for. I find it feel very safe here in Kenya. Haven't had any incidents with theft or violence or ever feeling unsafe, even when I was in the Nairobi area. Now I've relocated to Nakuru area and even deeper into the interior of Kenya with our property that we're developing in Solai, Kenya. So let me tell you some of the differences about the housing here. There are several things that stand out for me. One thing is that most houses here are built with concrete as opposed to wood frame houses. Most of the contemporary houses are built out of concrete. You'll still find some of the rural areas and village areas where they build what they call mabati houses. That is iron sheets. We call them tin sheets back home. You can build those type of houses as a semi-permanent house. Some houses are still made of mud brick. Here, you'll find that mostly in the village areas, mainly. But most of the small town and cities, they build with concrete, which is a great idea, by the way, because with the erratic weather patterns in the U.S., you would think that would be something that would catch on for whatever reason. Maybe because the insurance companies won't be able to have to rebuild your houses after every storm in America, because, you know, America is a very capitalistic society. But it would make more sense, in my view, that if America adopted some of the building standards as far as building concrete houses that can withstand some of the tumultuous weather and storms, tornadoes, hurricanes, and such that happens frequently in the U.S. So you'll find that is one of the major differences besides the price. Now, if you're living, as I mentioned, in Nairobi, everything's going to be pretty much to American standard. If you're coming from America or UK or some other developed country, as they call it, you find elevators. You'll find hot and cold water faucets, because that's not always common. But one thing about the hot water, in America, we have what we call hot water heaters in every house, where you'll constantly have water that's heated all the time. So you have 2 taps to turn on. You have a hot tap and you have a cold tap. You just simply turn one on and the other to blend the water together to make it warm. Or some you have a nozzle that you adjust to cold or hot, where you want to set it to. In Kenya, primarily that's not the case. You have a little switch that you have to flip on outside of the bathroom to generate instant hot water through the shower heads. I'll try to take a picture of that to show you. That's one major difference that you may have to get used to here in Kenya. Mostly the places have only one faucet, and that's cold water. In the kitchen, for the sinks, even for the bathrooms, in the shower. Unless you turn that switch on, you won't get any hot or warm water. So you may have to make that adjustment. Also, in Nairobi, you have the regular door locks, key locks, as we call them in America. You insert your key, turn the locks. Most of the doors are made of steel, not wood. Again, that's probably for security purposes, but I find it to be very reassuring that, in America, we have a problem called home invasions, where people just kick your door in. Well, that would be nearly impossible to do here in Kenya because all the doors are made of metal with metal frames and with a concrete structure. So there's nothing easily to be broken. So that's something that you see as a difference. Here, I'll show you the bolt lock system they have on the doors. If I can, I'll put a little picture of something on the screen when I edit this video that you can see an example of that. And also they have an outward gate on your deck. Say we're on the second floor of this apartment and we have a gate to access our balcony. Then you get to our door and you usually padlock that door or that gate before you get to your door. And you can always padlock your door too. You have to have a little cubby hole. You stick your hand through to remove the bolt lock inside, and then you enter your apartment. Then there's a bolt lock at the top and the bottom once you enter your unit. It makes it very secure, in fact. But that certainly be something that you will have to get used to, particularly outside of the Nairobi area. Here in the Nakuru area, our apartment has the bolt lock system. Even though our property manager has agreed that we could change the lock system, put the more Americanized on there if we would like to. I'm accustomed to it at this point, so it's not a real issue for me. But for those of you who have not experienced that, that would be something you need to make the adjustment to. And of course, again, the prices are much different here in Nakuru than they are in Nairobi. My apartment in Nairobi was $350 a month. My apartment here is $115 a month. So less than half of the cost, almost a third of the cost for the similar amenities. This is a 2-bedroom, 3-bath here in Nakuru for $115 a month. In Nairobi area, not far from Two Rivers Mall, it was $350 a month. So you do the math. One other thing I wanted to talk with you about, though, the infrastructure. Sidewalks and things like that can be a challenge. Even in Nairobi, there are some areas where the sidewalks are not as up to par as you may be used to in a regular or major city in America. Sometimes the power goes out more frequently. Since I've been here, it may have gone out maybe 5 times, but generally not for long extended periods of time. May stay out for 30, 45 minutes, comes back on. May have been one exception because of some damage to one of the power lines or something, where it stayed out for an extended period of time. But the good news about Kenya is because the weather is so mild all the time, it doesn't really affect you if the power goes out, except if it's nighttime, it'll be dark. But you can always get solar lights, which we have solar lights. A lot of places have backup generators and things like that, where you can use your solar light or your backup generator to provide some light for you. And they also use a lot of gas to cook with. So even if the power is out, you can still have your gas to cook food with. So that's not present a major issue unless you rely more heavily on electricity to power your house. So think about that, particularly if you're going out into these rural areas. So speaking about that, like I said, Nakuru is a much smaller city than Nairobi. It fits my style of life better for what I want for myself. I don't care about the hustle and bustle of being near all the places, the most popular places to go. Look, I've lived a good long life. I've experienced what I wanted to experience in life, lived in big cities, lived in small towns, lived in rural areas. For me, I prefer the small town and rural life, which is why we are also building with land and building house and property in Salai in the village area, which you've probably seen some of those videos listed on my site. And so let me talk a little bit about the property prices and the process for buying property here. Here in Kenya, they have what's called leasehold and freehold. Leasehold is where most foreign nationals can get land with a 99-year lease that's renewable. Freehold is buying the land outright. Generally, you cannot do that as a foreigner unless you have a Kenyan name on the paperwork for you. Now, I'm married to a Kenyan lady, a wonderful, beautiful Kenyan lady. So all of my properties that we purchase here is in her name. So that's not a hindrance for me. But just to let you know, that's going to be one of the only ways you can do it unless you register as a business and your business buys property in the business name, or you have a Kenyan as a majority owner in your business and you can put the property in your business or company name. But as an individual, more than likely, you're going to have to buy land leasehold. instead of freehold. Now, when you're buying an apartment or a house, I don't think those restrictions apply, but when it particularly comes to buying just raw land. Now, let's talk about some of the prices for the land that you can find. In Nairobi, you're going to be paying, depending on where you're looking, anywhere outside of Nairobi, you're not going to be able to afford any land in Nairobi city proper. It's just too outpriced for the majority of people. But on the outskirts, for a 50 by 100 lot, which is a popular lot size here, they call it an eighth of an acre, you're paying a few million shillings, 2.5, 2.7, 3 million up, anywhere within a 30-minute drive of Nairobi city itself. The farther you get out, you can find land going down. The price is going down, 2 million, 1.7 million, 1.5 million. Here in Nakuru, you can get an eighth of an acre, and the prices are really starting to go up here from what I've noticed. Just a half a mile from here, you can get a quarter acre. That's that 50 by 100 lot for 2.5 or 2.7 million, which is, a relative good price for a small piece of property. That's in right near the suburbs of Nakuru City. Now, we're purchased land in Salai, which is about a 50-minute drive from Nakuru, and we purchased that same size lot for less than 500,000 per lot. So that gives you an example of how the land prices can be different depending on where you're building at. And that may not suit every person. Like I said, I chose the life that fits my lifestyle. You have to choose the life that fits your lifestyle, and you have to be willing to pay the price for that. So just understand that if you want to be in Nairobi, where some people say all the action is, then you pay the price for that. If you want to get a smaller town, you can cut your costs almost a third of the cost in Nairobi. And if you go into the rural areas, then it's on a whole nother level. You can afford to buy. If you have able to buy property, that may be a good way for you to go. Some people don't want to make that investment into long-term property, especially if retirement age. You may find it best to rent. And you can rent here in Nakuru, a luxury place for less than $400 a month. You can live a very luxurious lifestyle here in Nakuru. So those are some things to consider as you think about relocating to Kenya, staying in Kenya, visiting Kenya. We're developing a mission base in Salai. We bought land. We purchased several acres of land where we're developing our mission base, which will have housing there as well as a place for displaced persons. We also have a recreational area for people to come and relax, unwind, and enjoy themselves. And so if you're ever visiting Kenya, Nakuru area, we have tour packages to Lake Nakuru National Park, Menengai Crater, Lake Salai, Thompson Falls. Those are some of the popular areas on our tour packages. But I just wanted to come in and share that with you, some of the things that you need to consider when you're looking at visiting and or relocating or retiring in Kenya. And look, if you're an American or somewhere from the West, you don't have to live permanently in Kenya. Come for 3 months on your regular ETA, go back to America, visit other parts of the world. While you're on this side of the world, come back and enjoy your next 3 months. But if you want to apply for a more permanent status, there are opportunities to do that as well. So in Nairobi, just to recap, you can live comfortably for $1,000 for an apartment, and that may even fit your lifestyle. If you're an older person, a more mature person that's in retirement age, most of us who reach this time of age, 50 and up, we've already lived the life we want to live. We're just trying to enjoy things at our own pace. And so if that's you, reach out to me. I'd love to try to connect you and point you in the direction of what you're looking for. There's also a coast, Diani Beach, Mombasa. If you love the ocean sides, you can choose that lifestyle for you. If you want to choose a small town life, Nakuru may be good for you. If you want a rural life, places like Salai will fit you. If you want to live on the western coast of Kenya, where Lake Victoria in Uganda is, you have a lakeside with the second largest freshwater lake in the world, Lake Victoria, at your beck and call. So that's a little bit of what I want to share with you. Sorry, we're a little longer than I usually do, but I wanted to get as much information out as I could. If you have any questions about anything I talked about, or you have some questions that I didn't address, feel free to reach out to me through my website, affordableafricanhorizons.com. In the meantime, enjoy your travels, enjoy your life, and enjoy the goodness that all this world has to offer you. Talk with you later. Kwaheri. Bye for now.